Okay.
Five. You are live.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Nick Fuentes, and I'm here to lecture today about the early music of Los Angeles. Today's class, we will be talking about the early theater music in Los Angeles. But before we get started with that, I did want to give a quick little review of what we talked about in the last class. Hello, everybody. My name is Nick Fuentes, and I'm here to lecture today about. So I just wanted to give a quick review of the first class, which we talked about the settlement of and music of Los Angeles up until 1850. So we had talked about the indigenous people of the Los Angeles area, which they called the Gabrieleños. They called themselves the Quiche people, or the people of the Willow House. It was the Spanish who started calling them Gabrieleños, and they were peaceful people, and they were plentiful in the area. And then we talked about how Los Angeles was first founded as a pueblo in 1781 by northern Mexican pioneers. Mission San Gabriel was founded 10 years prior to that. Felipe de Neve, a Spanish governor, sent an expedition claiming the territory, and these early pioneers were called pobladores. And from the first class, we also learned about the Franciscans of the California missions. Important figure in music at that time was Narciso Duran. He was active in teaching music to the Gabrieleño neophytes. He developed a pedagogy to teach church music. He taught them to play instruments and to sing, and he used colored musical notation to help them learn to read music. All right, so that's what we kind of went over in the first class. This class, I wanted to start out by just giving a simple, in the study of music, we call them listening guides. This is a simple template for a listening guide that everyone can use to help listen to music in a deeper way to get a little bit more out of the music that you're listening to. So I broke this down just into 4 parts. Of course, people studying music would break it down into way more parts and get more detailed, but this is for simple listening and enjoyment. So the first thing we want to think about when we listen to the music is the melody. The melody is the part of the music that we hear the most. It is the part that we might be singing to, and we want to listen for the melody in either high, medium, or low ranges. And then we have harmony. Oh, first off, melody is also, it's linear. It's notes going in a linear fashion. And the next, in contrast to harmony, which is notes being heard all together, harmony, what we want to think about in that is what mood does the music have. We want to listen for major sounds, which are sounds bright and happy. And then we also want to listen to minor sounds, which are considered dark and sad sounding. Next, we have rhythm and tempo. Can you clap the beat to the music? Is it fast, medium, or a slow tempo? And also, is it just a straight beat? Or does it do something what we call syncopation, where it plays off the beat, like 1, 2, 3. And then the next thing we want to look at is just the instrumentation being used in the music that we're listening to. What instruments are being used? We want to listen for instruments like strings, violins, cellos, brass instruments, trumpets, trombones, tubas, also drums. What is creating the underlying beat. We could listen for woodwinds such as flutes and clarinets. And also voices are part of the instrumentation. Do we hear a male voice or female voices while we are listening? So this is just a simple template that anybody can use to just get a little bit more out of music while you're listening to it. So I did want to go back to translate this template into a song that we heard last class. And this is a hymn to the Blessed Virgin Mary. It is in the California Mission style of music. So what we're listening here is in the melody, we are going to be hearing high and low pitches sung together by female and male voices. We are going to be hearing the harmony, which is a major, bright, and happy sounding mood. And then we're going to have the rhythm and tempo. This is a medium tempo, and it is not a straightforward beat. It is a little syncopated, which you will hear. And then instrumentations. In here, I hear the strings playing. I hear a triangle being rung, and then I hear flute and voices. If you hear anything different, make a note of it while we're listening.
Dios te salve, Reina y Madre de misericordia, vida y dulzura, esperanza nuestra. Dios te salve. A ti llamamos los desterrados hijos de Eva, a ti suspiramos, gimiendo y llorando en este valle de lágrimas. Ea pues, Señora, abogada nuestra.
Okay, I'll just stop it there. So this is a listening guide so this template, we're going to be using it today as we listen through some new music. So today we are going to talk about the early theater music in Los Angeles. We are talking about the times between 1850s up until the 1930s, just looking at theater music and what was going on in Los Angeles at this time. So some of the earliest known theatrical performances in Los Angeles are of the Los Pastoreles. These are theatrical performances. They were a story about the shepherd's journey to the birthplace of Jesus, good overcoming evil, and they are still being performed today. Let's move on here. So I want to share this photo with you that I found. This is from 1934. It's a pretty interesting photo. It depicts the cast of Pastoreles performance, and all these people are from the La Habra Campo, Colorado, which in that time in the La Habra area we had, a lot of farm workers who would reside in these camps, and they would put on performances for everyone to enjoy. Los Pastores means the shepherds, started by the Catholic Church as a way to tell the story of Jesus, carried to the New World by Spanish missionaries. The story acted out theatrical performances and was a way to introduce the indigenous people to Christianity. In Mexico and Southern California, the tradition was carried by the public through performances, usually in the town square. Over time, what used to be a straightforward story was adapted in many ways with added comedy for entertainment. In this photo, we have a picture of a cast of the Los Pastores, who were all residents of the Campo, Colorado, located in La Habra, California. The first version of the play in California was written in 1803 by Friar Florencio Ibanez of Mission Nuestra Senora de la Soledad in Los Angeles. Public pastorales were performed around the town plaza, the center stage for the pueblo's religious festivities. Still staged today, La Pastorela features a center stage for Pueblo's religious festivities. Still features a relatively small cast of characters, a handful of shepherds, the pastores, a drunken hermit who joins them, a devil, and several minions who try to stop the shepherds, and Archangel Saint Michael, who ultimately saves them. Throughout Mexico and the Southwest, these musical folk dramas were performed in private homes as well as public spaces. The Los Angeles Natural History Museum has a manuscript from 1839 by Antonio Coronel with complete playwright and song lyrics, but we have no record of what the music sounded like that accompanied the songs. Coronel was important in the arrangement of a pastorela performance at St. Vincent College, which is the predecessor of Loyola Marymount University. A performance at Terverine Hall in 1883 was reported by the Los Angeles Herald as being so popular that another performance was scheduled in February. The December 1931 issue of the Auto Club's Touring Topics magazine documented performances of Los Pastores given by Mexican agricultural workers in La Habra, Fullerton, Corona, Upland, and Placentia. The reporter explained that the previous year, a group organized and trained at Placentia by an almost illiterate orange pickers gave more than 25 performances between Christmas Eve and February, traveling all over Southern California in an open truck. So it is reported that the last public performance of Las Pastorela in the Los Angeles Plaza took place on Christmas Eve, 1861, put on then by Don Pio Pico and his brother Don Andres. They wanted to put on the biggest displayed performance of pastores, as this might be the last time it might occur in the plaza. The last play of the pastores, as recalled by Arturo Bandini, took place in the plaza on Christmas Eve of 1861. Rancheros and townsmen patronized the numerous booths that had been set up for the occasion. The air was filled with cries of the vendors of tamales, enchiladas, tortillas, candy, and fruit, as well as the twanging of guitars, the shrieking of violins, and the voices of singers. As an old man, Arturo Bandini waxed nostalgic on the Christmases of his youth in the book Navidad, A Christmas Day with the Early Californians. Gaily decorated and festooned carretas, prancing horses, and splendid horsemen were a common enough sight for us, but the pastores, that was something that occurred but once a year during Navidad, Christmas time. Here are some pictures. We have this picture is from San Antonio, Texas, 1893, but it depicts, a performance of the pastorelas. And then here on the right side, we have an actual advertisement from the Los Angeles Herald for 1883 performance at Terverine Hall. So I just wanted to go and show you guys some examples. These are more modern examples, but this is a traditional example. We'll watch for a few minutes.
Hoy nos ha nacido un Salvador, el Mesías, el Señor. Hoy nos ha nacido un Salvador, el Mesías, el Señor. Canten al Señor un canto nuevo, canten al Señor toda la tierra, canten al Señor nacimiento. Gloria a Dios en las alturas y paz en la tierra a los hombres de buena voluntad.
Pastores, no hay tiempo que perder. ¡Vamos a ver al niño! ¡Sí, vamos!
Vamos, pastores, vamos, vamos a ver.
So, when I watch that performance, it just makes me think, how special it must have been to watch a performance like that live in the original Los Angeles Plaza area and the scene that it must have been. And then next, this is a way more modern. Oh, actually, that last performance was Teatro Tierra Caliente, which is a program under the Tierra Caliente Academy of the Arts in San Diego, California. This next one comes from PBS Great Performances. This is just a preview of what it was. It featured Linda Ronstadt, Cheech Marin, and Paul Rodriguez as the headliners, telling the shepherd's tale, the classic musical journey of the shepherds to Bethlehem as told through the eyes of a young girl from a rural Tex-Mex family. So this one is a modern rendition and has maybe some more comedy involved in it.
Great Performances presents El Teatro Campesino's musical folktale for the holidays, La Pastorela. A fantastical retelling of the story of a birth announced by angels to simple shepherds, who then must go through hell and back to get to the stable. Starring Linda Ronstadt, Paul Rodriguez, Robert Beltran, Freddie Fender, and Don Novello, with a special appearance by Cheech Marin and featuring the music of Los Lobos. Join us for La Pastorela.
You know they call it midnight mass, not 10 minutes after midnight mass.
So yeah, that's the...
Great Performances present.
All right, and then the next we're going to listen to this recording actually comes from 1963. It's just a song about the pastorela. It's titled Pastorela Mexicana by Francisco Gabilondo Soler, also known as Cri Cri. He used to have a radio show, I believe, and he had a character that he was the voice of, a little cricket named Cri Cri. So this is the listening guide here. While we listen, we want to think about the melody. This is a mid-range male voice singing. The harmony is a major harmony, bright sounding. And the rhythm and tempo is slow. Instrumentations are some strings, choir, bells, brass, and animal sounds.
En lo alto de la sierra, en jacal de carboneros, cuando era medianoche y temblaban los luceros, a la vida vino un niño junto a una flor de fuego. 25 de diciembre, ni día más ni día de menos. Es su madre muy morena, de mirar alegre y tierno. Es su padre un indio fuerte, leñador de puro nervio. El pelón tiene por cuna un huacal lleno de heno, y al llorar su llanto rasga la neblina de los cerros. Ha nacido un nuevo niño entre ojotes piñoneros, sin saber que nace pobre, porque más no puede serlo. Solo hay mamá risueña, un papá tallado en fierro y una cruz que lo proteja en los años venideros. Navidad de los humildes, el jacal de carboneros. 25 de diciembre, ni día más ni día de menos.
Yes. You know, I did not provide a transcription of the lyrics. Yeah, I was, oh, okay. I will make sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so also, you know, when listening to music too, of course, as a music major, I don't always understand all the words or anything, but it doesn't take away from being able to use that listening guide. I think also in there I heard the sweeping sounds of a harp that I didn't note down, but that sounded really nice in there. And so next, we're leaving the pastorellas, and we are now going to be talking about the theaters in Los Angeles. One of the popular theaters was the Teatro Hidalgo. Let's see, make sure I'm on the right slide. Originally a livery for horses, it was purchased by the Portola Theater Company. They spent $9,000 to remodel it into a theater, and a year later leased it for $8,000. They advertised it as the only Spanish theater in America featuring vaudeville and pictures of movie pictures, with an estimated $800 a month in profits. The core audience for the theater were the plentiful Mexican Americans that lived close and around the plaza. It was named after the father of the Mexican independence, Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla. The theater was known as the Teatro de la Raza, and though its many owners and lessees, or through all of its many owners and lessees, was always proclaimed for its Mexicanidad, or Mexicanness. So this is a picture of it right there. It was located on Main Street in Arcadia in downtown. Although it closed in 1936, it is no longer there either. It is that whole spot has been taken away, I believe. We have the freeway running right there. Yes?
Do you know why that's an important theater?
That it's one of the original theaters in Los Angeles, and that it, had the, it was a Spanish theater. It was the only Spanish theater, or not the only, there was many Spanish theaters that spoke Spanish, and they brought in all kinds of talent and stars from Mexico, and
The importance of the theaters were the fact that the Mexican people were not allowed in the white theater.
oh, yes. This was a way for, And for the people living around the theater that would attend these performances and be entertained in here, yeah, it was the few places that they could go enjoy this entertainment. It was also, it also helped to stir musical culture in the area, and to see live professional performers who were just like themselves. So we'll move on here. So we have a picture here on the left side. That is the Teatro Hidalgo Orchestra. And then on the right side here, we have an actual advertisement for the theater from 1918. Oops. Oh. And then in the background of this picture, we have the theater in one of its many facades, probably the most like fantastic facade that it had. This actually comes from a movie scene, 1922, from a film called Cops, starring Buster Keaton. And then next we're going to talk about Romualdo Tirado. In the 1920s and 30s, he was an impresario in the Mexican theater of Los Angeles. He was a man of many talents. He was an actor on stage and in film, singer, comic, director, manager, librettist, playwright, and a radio performer. He was the single most important figure in history of Spanish theater in this day. Tirado helped to bridge the Spanish-Mexican revista genre, or musical review, to audiences in Los Angeles. Revistas are short theatrical works that usually last an hour and are paired typically with a zarzuela, a Spanish musical opera, similar to opera without the recitative, which is when they are speaking dialogue, they are actually singing an opera. So a zarzuela is different in that they don't do that. They just speak the dialogue regularly. And revistas were different from Broadway reviews in that they not only contained dialogue, dancing, music, and singing, but substantial political, erotic, or nationalist plot or themes running through its various scenes. He wrote a series of revistas and zarzuelas with himself as the lead. His most famous was De Mexico a Los Angeles, from Mexico to Los Angeles. All right, so this musical example is not really music. I try to find some examples or recordings of him actually singing, but the only thing I could find with him, it comes from a dialogue. It's a dialogue from a revista La Confesión del Indio, and this one I did get a translation for it. I had a good friend of mine help me since I'm not fluent in Spanish. It is a conversation between an indigenous man and a priest. The indigenous man enters the church for a confession, but he has no idea how to proceed. The priest teaches him how to do it. The script is comedic by using words that sound similar in Spanish, like pecado, which is sin, and pescado, which is fish. So we'll listen to Tirado, and this is another actor, Francisco.
Brunswick 40656, La Confesión del Indio, parte 1, Romualdo Tirado y Francisco Navarrete.
Con la venia, padrecito. Vengo a la sacristía porque en la iglesia hay mucha gente y están los confesionarios atascados. Y como no puedo esperar porque dejé a la juera la burra con el burro de mi compadre, y como los dos animalitos tienen buenas amistades, No vayan a alborotarse y me rompan el guacal con todos los blanquillos que truje del rancho.
Pues entra, hijito, arrodíllate y santíguate.
Pues quién sabe qué será eso.
¿Cómo? ¿No sabes lo que es santiguarse?
No, señor.
Que te persines.
Ah, sí, señor.
Y ahora reza el yo pecador.
Si viera, Padrecito, que a mí no me gusta el pescado.
¿Qué pescado? Pecador. En fin, yo rezaré por ti. Ahora dime, ¿tú has guardado los mandamientos de la ley de Dios?
Dígame quién le dijo que yo me los he guardado y al que sea le hincho el hocico por hablador.
¿Pero qué estás diciendo?
Pues que no sean ansina.
Mira, lo mejor será que tú contestes a mis preguntas.
Ansina será mejor para que no se me quede nada dentro de la conciencia.
Vamos a ver. El primero, amar a Dios sobre todas las cosas. ¿Tú amas a Dios?
¿Cómo no? Pues si es tan bueno, nos da el maicito, la tortilla que me como, el petate que me lo acuesto.
¿Y a tu prójimo, lo quieres?
Pues yo no lo conozco, pero cuando usted lo dice tendré que quererlo.
Pues tu prójimo soy yo, aquel, el de más allá.
Déjele, que va a ser usted mi prójimo. Es el padrecito de la iglesia.
En este mundo todos somos prójimos.
También las...
Okay, I'll stop it right there. I just love listening to old recordings. I did a little research on Edison and the invention of the phonograph. And just listening to the, you know, although it's not the cleanest recording back then, you get that hiss and fuzz, but I mean, this is the time where we were actually able to document audio sounds and have them, you know, survive all these years for us to still listen to. This picture right here is actually this is an advertisement from La Opinion or newspaper in Los Angeles, and this is for one of, for his, de Mexico a Los Angeles revista. So now I got a couple of the performers who performed in these theaters, and we'll learn a little bit about them. So here we have Maria Conesa. Many of Mexico's famous revista stars appeared in Los Angeles Mexican theaters in the 1920s and 30s. The Spanish-born but Mexican at heart, Maria Conesa was known for her voluptuous and picaresque images of Mexicanidad, Mexicanness. She was famous for her participation in teatro, we'll just translate it. It's famous for her erotic theater and also her frivolous theater. These traditions portrayed females in dramatic situations, emphasizing their bodies and revealing costumes, and portrayed and erotic situations, especially for the gaze of male audience. Mexican poet, writer, and critic Luis G. Urbina complained that Conesa could even read the Padre Nuestro, our Father's Prayer, and make it sound salacious. She had tried to get a shot in Hollywood without prevailing during one of her visits in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Times paid little attention to Spanish theater, but they gave her a praise review for one of her performances at the Teatro California in February 1930. She most likely sang her version of a risque song, El Tango del Morongo, the song of the tomcat, from the Spanish zarzuela Enseñanza Libre, which was familiar to Los Angeles audience. So this is the song right here, El Tango del Morongo, the song of the tomcat, sung by Maria Conesa. This is a listening guide. We want to listen for the melody. She has a high-pitched female voice. The harmony in the song is major, happy sounding mood. Rhythm and tempo is fast, and I hear in this the instruments flute, I hear a trombone or a tuba, and other woodwind instruments. The instruments in the background are hard to distinguish. The song lyrics are very risque and use double entendre with lyrics about a tomcat and a pussycat.
Y así me lo pongo. Arza y toma, yo tengo un menino de cola muy larga, de pelo muy fino. Si le paso la mano al indino, se tira y se encoge de gusto el menino. Y le gusta pasar aquel rato, ay, alfa que toma, que pícaro gato. Ay, qué fino, el pelito que tiene el menino. Ay, morrongo, qué contento si así me lo pongo. Ay, qué fino, el pelito que tiene el menino. Ay, morrongo, qué contento si aquí me lo pongo. Aseguro que tengo una suegra que tiene la sangre más gorda y más negra que la bola del observatorio que sube y que baja de aquel promontorio. Y se ha empeñado la pícara vieja que no le pellizque a mi esposo en la oreja, sin saber que sin lo del pellizco no se pone alegre ni me mira visco. Ay, qué lata, son las suegras que meten la pata. Ay, qué cisco, solamente por lo del pellizco. Ay, qué lata, son las suegras que meten la pata. Ay, qué cisco, solamente por lo del pellizco. Arza y toma que hay un abonado que está del morrongo tan entusiasmado que me ha dicho que si se le enseño me da cuanto quiera, que es grande su empeño. Como no soy una profesora que da las lecciones en casa por horas, si es que quiere aprender el morrongo, que venga aquí a verlo, al fin le propongo. Ay, qué guasa, si yo diera lecciones en casa. Qué chiflao, debe estar el señor abonao. Ay, qué guasa, si yo diera lecciones en casa. Qué chiflao, debe estar el señor abonao.
All right. So that was Maria Conesa. Okay, and so we have one more musical figure that we are going to talk about today. This is Guti Cardenas, famous Mexican singer and actor, made records for Colombia. And La Opinion newspaper in Los Angeles, the main newspaper, Spanish newspaper, published on April 6, 1932, the headline, Guti Cardenas muerto a tiros en un cabaret. Guti Cardenas was shot dead in a cabaret. This happened in Mexico City. This just shows us how important music and theater were to the residents of Los Angeles. His tragic killing had happened only hours before the headline. Cardenas most likely first appeared in Los Angeles in 1928 on his way back to Mexico from New York, where he was recording records for the U.S. record company Columbia Records. Los Angeles residents were familiar with his original songs, Ojos Tristes, Sad Eyes, and Yucatecan Clave, and Piña Madura, Ripe Pineapple, which he sung in the Warner Brothers' first national melodramatic film, La Dama Atrevida, The Daring Woman. This film had a successful run in downtown Los Angeles at the Teatro California in July of 1931. So we'll listen to the Ojos Tristes, Sad Eyes, sung by Guti Cardenas. The listening guide here, the melody, he has a medium range male voice. We want to be hearing that. The harmony is a sad minor harmony, and the rhythm is a medium tempo, and the instruments used are guitar and voice.
Tienen tus ojos un raro encanto, tus ojos tristes como de niño que no ha sentido ningún cariño, tus ojos dulces como de santo. Tienen tus ojos un raro encanto, tus ojos tristes como de niño que no ha sentido ningún cariño, tus ojos dulces como de santo. Ay, si no fuera a pedirte tanto, yo te pidiera vivir de hinojos, mirando siempre tus tristes ojos, ojos que tienen sabor de llanto. Ay, si no fuera a pedirte tanto, yo te pidiera vivir de hinojos, mirando siempre tus tristes ojos, ojos que tienen sabor de llanto. Tienen tus ojos un raro encanto, tus ojos tristes como de niño que no ha sentido ningún cariño, tus ojos dulces como de santo. Ay, si no fuera a pedirte tanto, yo te pidiera vivir de hinojos, mirando siempre tus tristes ojos, ojos que tienen sabor de llanto.
All right, so that's what I have prepared for you guys. Just in a quick review of that, we talked about the La Pastorelas, the theatrical performances of the birth of Christ, and we also looked at the Teatro Hidalgo and talked about some of the figures like Romualdo Tirado, who was an important figure in creating performances for the theaters in Los Angeles, and we look at some of the performers like Maria Conesa and Guti Cardenas. Yeah, does anybody have any questions for me? Yes?
Why was Cardenas killed? And was he killed as he performed?
No, he was not. He was at a very popular like salon in Mexico City, where like a lot of the stars, I believe it was just over an argument or something that he was shot and died from his wound. Any other questions for me? Okay, so I definitely enjoyed being here and speaking with you guys today. I'll be back in 2 weeks, and we will be looking at the very earliest recordings of music in Los Angeles by a guy named Charles Loomis. And he was a man who, in the late 19th century, like 1880s and 90s, he was the only guy going around documenting culture of indigenous people or Mexican heritage, and with one of the only phonographs in the area, he was recording the music of famous people like, I cannot remember her name, but I will be sharing that with you guys. So I hope to see you guys then. You're welcome.